trust me, if you had to be 100% ready before you started anything, we would never have church on Sunday morning. I will never have 100% together. Right? Sorry, Fran, this is your time. Everyone, Fran Sisco is an activist and a performer.
Thank you, Father Gary. Let's give it up for Father Gary. Charlotte and everyone who put together this event, Vicky in the back and everyone else. I'm really honored to be here and talk for, I think you said about 10 minutes. I'll keep it under that. So just as a way of identification, my name is Fran Sisco. As Father said, I'm a transgender female entertainer and I'm a writer. I'm also a CPA and a financial advisor. I have about 100 clients, so I deal with people all the time. And I love people. And I love people even more now that I'm transgender. I don't know why. Maybe I'm freer and I think better of myself now, but I'm more fully expressed. And I transitioned to full-time female 9 years ago, come January 1st. And I wanted to share some ideas from my life, especially these last 9 years. I was a cross-dressing boy when about from 10 years old on. I used to lay in bed at night and say as many Hail Marys as I could, so that when I woke up in the morning, I was magically a girl. And it hadn't happened. But I lived my life, my whole life in two genders, male and female, mostly as a male. But I would go out as a cross-dressing female. And I actually gave up on the idea that I would ever be able to live as a female in this lifetime. And then some magic happened. So this is my message. It's pretty simple. Everyone has ideas. But this is my three-part message. Number one, be who you are. Number two, be as fully expressed and with as many people as possible, and share that. And number three, be open to receive the grace of God working through other people that are around you, and to become the best version of yourself that you could be. So for many people that could happen tomorrow, for many people it takes decades, as it did for me. But that's my three-part message. And I have a quick story to tell you on the topic of violence and being hurt as a transgender person. And we're going to honor so many people today who have died. My overall message on this, about this story, and the reason I'm sharing it, is that there was a silver lining at the end of the story, and that we need to always see hope, as we will today. In honoring people who have died, we also need to honor the people who are living, and still have hope and joy about our present and our future. So here's the story. I'm 31 years old. I had a retail business at the time. And I'm in my business alone. People were off that day. Coincidentally, I was alone. It was a large store, larger than this room. And in walks a guy about my age, a little bit bigger than me. Red hair, fair complexion. I thought maybe he was Irish, but something seemed odd, off. He asked me for a gift that he was looking for his 12-year-old son, his 12-year-old nephews, sorry. And I sold toys, baby furniture, and sporting goods and stuff. And he looked kind of ragged. I was trying not to be judgmental, but I thought he couldn't afford something too expensive, so I suggested that he get a bat. And he was looking at me odd, and at that time I was living as a man, but I grew my hair. It was blonde, it's probably as long and as blonde as your hair. And from a distance, I definitely looked like a female, and I was dressed androgynously at the time. I had my own business, and I was freer than I had been when I worked in a corporate environment at Price Waterhouse. So he probably thought I was maybe gay, and he had things about gay people or trans, and there weren't that many trans then, or a female impersonator, but I could tell that bothered him. So when I went over to get a gift to suggest to him, I noticed, by the way, that he wasn't drinking because I didn't smell any alcohol, but I wasn't sure if he was taking drugs or not. So when I bent down to this box of bats, short bats to pull one out to suggest it to him to get for his nephew, out of the corner of my eye, I saw that he reached down into the third box to my left and pulled out a much larger bat, and he came up over me, and he came down, and as I looked around, I saw that he was coming down on my head, and he hit me over the head, and I went out. He fractured my head in 12 places. At the hospital, they told my wife that I probably wouldn't make it. They very rarely say that. You know, they always try to instill hope in the relatives. But they told her I probably wouldn't make it. And then a day later, they told her that, well, if I am going to make it, but I'll probably be in a vegetative state because the damage was that significant to my head. To make it worse, after he hit me and I went down, they said that he hit me 2 more times. By the way, my skull was cracked. So there was a lot of hate built up in this guy against me. I never saw him until that day, but it was a hate crime, possibly because I looked trans or gay or something different than he was willing to accept. So I was basically a peace-loving guy, you know, up until then. And then people reminded me so often, oh, that's why it happened to you. You know why? Because you're too trusting. Because you give too much to people. Because you're willing to turn your back on people. And that was the way what I loved about myself. And I kept on hearing that over and over and over from people I knew, as well as people I would meet, new people, when they heard about that. So I built up a revenge inside of me, plus the morphine I was on for several weeks because of the injury made me a bit crazy. I was seeking revenge until finally I plotted to kill this guy. And I didn't start admitting this really in public forums until about a year ago, but I think there's some value in it. So actually what I did is I took a kitchen knife, steak knife, and I put it under the seat of my car, and I would go out at night, and I would go to the drug rehab centers in my area. I live in New Rochelle. New Rochelle, there was one in the downtown area, Mount Vernon, Portchester, and some neighboring towns, and I would wait until they filed out of the drug rehab center to spot the guy that did this to me. And I planned, and I couldn't believe that this was me. During the day, I was a normal person, I felt. At night, I would turn into this murderer, this killer. And I thought that I would come up behind him and knife him in the throat. And I would pray every day that this revenge would be taken away from me. And it wasn't as easy as just wishing it away. And it wasn't taken away. On the 7th night, when I went out with the knife underneath the car seat, and I got into an area, I had an intuition that it was in that area, around that corner, at that center, when I was going to see this guy, and that I was going to follow him down an alley, and I was going to kill him. And I started almost breaking down at that point. I put my hands on the wheel. I stopped the car. I pulled it over, put my hands on the wheel, my forehead to my hands, and I prayed deeper than I ever prayed in my life for anything, that God would help me take away this hatred. And like it was a wave at Jones Beach, who's been to Jones Beach or Atlantic beaches, it was like it was a wave, but it wasn't water. And it came at me, my face, and it hit my head back against the headrest very hard, and it was gone. The hatred was gone. The revenge was gone. it was, I guess, as some people feel when you're born again or when you have such a strong epiphany, that what entered when that was gone was forgiveness. And I became more loving and trusting than I had ever been before that. And the silver lining in it for me was to know that even in the face of tragedy, in my case it was injury, not death, and luckily I didn't have any really serious permanent damage from it, miraculously. And it wasn't in the case of someone dying, but even no matter what the problem is, there's always a silver lining, there is always some hope. And so that is my message, is to, if you have a relative or a friend that's gone through hatred, is, yes, take the necessary steps to prevent that from happening again, but don't get caught up in hate, in vitriol, and in injuring anyone else. Christ's message is so clear that we have to share ourselves and love one another, even our enemies. So that is that's the part of the story I wanted to. Is that a story that I should repeat to other people?
Yeah.
Did it move you at all?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I wanted just in my remaining time, I just want to read a few lyrics, because it'll probably do it better than my talking extemporaneously. A few lyrics from a couple of songs. One is, I took the song "Make Me a Channel of Your Peace." You know that? It's Prayer of St. Francis. And I rewrote the melody and I rewrote some of the lyrics, but I just want to say these. Make me, and this is for us, especially for trans people. I feel trans people have a special mission. We, unlike many other people, not to say more than other people, gay people and stuff, but we, because we stand out maybe more, we have not only the right to live as we want to live, but we have a duty to help other people who are disadvantaged by disability, by poverty, by whatever. And I believe that someday trans people, like they do in many other cultures, will stand above as the leaders and the people to look to for inspiration. And I really, truly believe that. And the message that from this St. Francis song is, make me an instrument of your peace. Like when you really think about it, make me an instrument of your peace. Whether you believe in Christ or God, or you're a Muslim, or you're Jewish, there's always usually a greater force involved. And be wanting to be an instrument of the peace. And just a couple of lines. Where there has been hatred, let me bring about love. Where there is injury, my pardon from above. Where there is too much doubt, let faith be there more of. Okay, from a couple of lines from another song. I took the song Que Sera, Sera, and recently I've been performing it with this parody, You Are Who You Are. So, you know, the song Que Sera, Sera, whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see, Que Sera, Sera. What will be, will be. Well, here's my parody of it for trans people. At 10, dressed up one Halloween, I asked my mother, is this for me? Could I be pretty, become a girl? Here's what she said to me. You are who you are. Whoever you be, you'll be. Be patient and you will see the true you are. Who you'll be, you'll be. When I grew up, I told my wife of my desire to be a girl, to be lovely and gentle. She smiled and asked, tell me, are you for real? You are who you are. Whoever you'll be, you'll be. We'll still be soulmates, you and me. Trust in who you are. Who you'll be, you'll be. Now have a daughter of my own. She asked me, "Hey Dad, who will I be? Will I be like you or like my mom?" I tell her soulfully, "You are who you are. Whoever you be, you be. The whole world will want to see the real you are, who you be, you be." Last verse. "Now I'm a transgender woman. I ask my dear Lord, is this for me? Will I be happy the rest of my life?" Here's what God said to me. "You are who you are. Inside you is a lot of me. Just know that, and you will see the divine you are. Who you'll be, you'll be." I have a pop song, and the line from it that I just want to share is, when you're a trans person, you're sharing yourself, be proud of it, as you all are. Be expressed about it. Don't be timid about it. Get out there. The more of us that are out there singing it and saying it to other people, the more recognition there will be. So don't let the death or injury of a few make you scared. Don't have fear. The line from that is a song called "Happy Trans Girl Like Me" is, "Don't you want to be a cute, happy trans girl like me?" Now, I know I'm not a young, cute girl, but that's what I want to convey. I want to say, don't you want to be, if you're not trans, don't you want to be a cute, happy trans girl like me? And the more happier we are, the more fully expressed we are, I think the better it is. It'll make it for all of us. The last one is, I have the honor of introducing my good friend, Regina Elizabeth King, who's going to sing a track from a song of mine called "Being a Trans Girl." Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Regina. Do you shut this off?